China gets up early to begin her day's routine. There's much to do. This year, she has announced plans for a new long march to become a modern nation by the year 2000. She begins that long trip by bike, on foot, and by hand. Everyone is supposed to pull together doing the job the state has assigned. Some of the tasks are menial. The tools are old, and the pay is low, a little more than $1 a day. But they seem to me to genuinely enjoy working for an entity larger than themselves, for the family, the commune, or the state. They will pool their resources, their money, their food, skills, and the land. That is the essence of this collectivist state. So each family will have enough, each commune or town will be self-sufficient, and the state will move forward. That's the plan. China's potential is enormous because there are nearly 1 billion people waking up here this day. There are more men than machines here, so strong backs do the work of trucks and cranes. These workers on an irrigation project are each pulling 1 ton of sand and rock 10 miles across town, day after day, for $1 a day. There are sawmills in China, but the mechanized plants are few and the demand for lumber is high. So for now, a cross-cut saw must suffice. Some of this lumber is cut from dead trees, hard as rocks. These men pull 40 strokes a minute, 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. The plant is in operation 7 days a week and 3 shifts a day. It will turn out only 200 boards of lumber a week. The primitive tools, the men's bodies strong and spare, the Chinese are embarrassed by it. They know there are better ways. Sawmills may be modernized and the output increased, but some of the men will be put out of work. What then? It is a major concern. Japan. Like the cherry blossoms, the rains come here each spring. The rains wash away what's left of winter. The cherry blossoms bring new life. The blossoms bring a delicacy, detail, and ceremony so important to Japan. The pipe taps the rock, chasing away deer in the garden. How simple, how useful, how beautiful, and how Japanese. There is a suggestion of solitude when it rains, no matter who you are or where you are. In Japan, such times lead to thoughts of tradition, samurai secrecy, and strength. Japan, as with all island nations, is a land apart, a land of many parts. Buddha has cared for this island nation for centuries, has protected the people, and now it's time to pay homage to Buddha for the life-giving rains and the blossoms, and for the new season. As the rain stops, as it will, and as the land gives rise to its full potential, as it must, as Japan moves into the summer of its life, its energetic, searching, and motivated populace will look as one eastward to the source of real and perceived power. It will look in hope, as it once did in fear. The atom bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki ended Japan's long winter and began a new life. The pace quickened, and Japan not only joined the 20th century, she leads it. The world now turns to her for lessons. The rain has stopped. The work has begun. And the story of that effort is so impressive as to border on the unbelievable. Now we turn to Japan to see how it's done. We look with hope at her markets. We look with pleasure at her promise. And we look with concern at her future, because the Northwest's future will be made in Japan. Good evening, or actually good afternoon. We are live. It is Nagoya, Japan, and it is noon on Saturday. We have come to Nagoya because it is the home of the old. This, behind us, is Nagoya Castle, built in the 1600s for the shogun Tokugawa, the first in a long line of ruling families in Japan. And we've come here to Nagoya because this is also home of the new. This is the fourth largest city in Japan, and it is the manufacturing headquarters in this country, home of textiles and ceramics. This is Tsukiji Market in Tokyo, the largest fish market in the world. Wholesale buyers come here to buy fish that would be sold to restaurants, stores, and homes all over Japan. There are 117 million mouths to feed. The standard of living has risen, and they're demanding more fish. They want it fresh, and they want variety. They have a really big appetite for fish. Now, this is a phenomenon in Japan that will seem strange to us. Not the eating of fish so fresh it's still jumping, and not the whiskey bottles on the wall that are owned by customers. That's just good business. It keeps them coming back again. Notice anything strange about this scene? Almost all the people here are men. Many Japanese men, and the workforce is still mostly men, work 12 or more hours a day. Then they work over drinks and a long dinner. They say they lose face if they come home from a day at the office before 10. So the many all-male restaurants and bars. But this too is changing. This is the China I visited in 1979. Closed to the West for so long, I was the first foreigner many had ever seen. It was a backward country which suffered from years of war, famine, and the treachery of the Cultural Revolution. The rest of the world modernized, China struggled. China today is exploding with change. Cars replace hand carts faster than roads can be built. A new 6-lane freeway, put up in just 1 year, is already clogged with traffic. Incomes have increased dramatically, and products are available from everywhere. The Colonel's Fried Chicken store here is his most profitable in the world. Gone are Mao suits. High fashion is here, as hip as Hong Kong, as pricey as Paris. This is Beijing's Silk Road. Once filled with Chinese designs, now the very latest in Western fashions are preferred.
This is the newest style.
Technology has replaced tradition, and money replaces Mao. In 1979, Tiananmen Square was the center of China's political life. At Democracy Wall, you could read letters and newspapers announcing cultural change. But the massacre of Chinese students here in 1989 created a huge black mark on the Chinese government, an outrage around the world. Today, sensitivity about Tiananmen remains. There are no more newspapers here, and Democracy Wall is gone. Mao now oversees a square full of tourists and children flying kites. 20 years ago, there wasn't a lot of food available. Once you got past the greens, there wasn't much else. I remember feeling guilty when I got home how much we had and how little was available in China. Not so anymore. The variety of fruits and vegetables is impressive, and the supply, at least in cities, is good. This was not always the case. And this is where China's future meets the past. These students carry on the age-old art of Chinese opera. Hours of study and practice go into each character, each face exactly the same as their ancestors. Music, dance, acrobatics, all make up this intricate performance. The stories usually have a social or political message. This one, that a flower blooms in one day, but it takes 1,000 years to cultivate. Theater director Mr. Liu says it's important to preserve this art form.
We believe this is important for China.
But many Chinese, especially the young, are losing interest in opera. It is Western music and Western culture that interests the young people most. Discos are everywhere. Young people enjoy their newfound freedom, and many new choices. It's not only these kids, but a whole nation of 1 billion people who are on the move. And if they keep up this pace, I have the strong feeling the future not only belongs to these kids, but the 21st century could belong to China. Princess Diana, the most photographed woman in the world, is gone forever. Now what people wanted to see most was Diana's boys. Prince William, 15, the boy who would be king, and his younger brother Harry, soon to be just 13 years old, facing the world now without their best protector.
And I got all tearful, I couldn't say anything.
And seeing Princess William and Harry, the British people got today what they wanted to see most, the living legacy. We asked, what are your thoughts when you saw the boys this morning?
Well, it hurt me, that's what's done, because I lost my mum 13 years ago, and I'm just getting over the shock of her now, my mum.
Really feel sad for them. You know, 2 young boys growing up without a mother. And but I think the nation is behind them.
Most people seem optimistic that given the way their mother raised them, they are ready to face the future.
It's hard to imagine a continent more exotic than Africa. The landscape is breathtaking. The animals alluring. And the people are stunning. Just beyond the beauty, though, are medical horrors unfolding daily. People are dying by the millions from malaria, in childbirth, and especially from AIDS. This tragedy wouldn't be tolerated in the US or Europe, but now, after years of neglect, the world spotlight is slowly shifting, due in no small part to the Northwest's most famous couple.
Some people are surprised when they find out that the top priority for the foundation is health, because, to me that comes before, having a computer or having a phone, is to have kids who lead a healthy life.
This is Cape Town, South Africa. What we're witnessing is a rare moment in history in which the richest man in the world is beginning to share that wealth and influence to try to improve the lives of women, children, and families all around the world. Tonight, Bill and Melinda Gates sharing the wealth in Africa. Ghana to the Gambia to South Africa, just some of the places targeted for help by the Gates Foundation. A race against disease and time with millions of lives in the balance, and repercussions that echo back here in the Northwest. Visit an African village and you'll likely be surrounded by children, friendly, beautiful, eager to meet you. But what you must know is that many of these children are living under a death sentence. They already have AIDS. This convent in Cape Town is one of the few homes there are for children with AIDS. Most of them are abandoned and left homeless. No one is willing to take these doomed children into their homes. It's estimated that within 10 years, there will be 40 million orphans, just like these, roaming the streets and towns of sub-Saharan Africa, orphaned by AIDS. The sheer scope of AIDS in Africa is almost unimaginable. It's estimated 1 in 5 people in Africa has AIDS.
It's an explosive epidemic.
It's worse than an epidemic. It's a disaster.
Our problem is the AIDS is worrying everyone in the whole world, our country.
Right.
And
our village.
Yeah, our village too. And we need something that can prevent us from going to catch that AIDS.
This is Durban, South Africa. It looks like it could be a Northwest port city, but what we need to understand here is how different AIDS is in Africa than it is in the US. Nearly 1/3 of all women who are tested for AIDS are found to be positive. And half of all the children who are admitted to some hospitals, no matter what they're admitted for, are testing positive for AIDS. There's no avoiding this reality. Next to the hospital is the mortuary. And next to the mortuaries are the coffin makers, doing a brisk business because so many people are dying. The AIDS virus is different in Africa than in the US. In Africa, it affects more women than men. It affects very young girls, teens, and the victims die younger. Women in their early 20s,
I don't believe that.
men in their early 30s. And the disease is fueled by the tradition of polygamy.
One of my uncles has 6 wives with about 21 children. 15 years back, I was advising him against it. He said, no, my farms are big, I can take care of them.
The idea of polygamy, it's an African issue. And I think most African communities are open about it. it is not something that I believe would be stopped over the next coming years, but it is something that I think can be controlled by responsible behavior.
Many men, especially those working away from home in the mines, are infected by prostitutes and then bring the disease home to their wives. And what makes it so tough to stop the spread is that few people will even talk about AIDS. Victoria, who lives in a Cape Town shanty, is typical. Women don't like to talk about AIDS, do they?
I don't have AIDS.
Right. But even women who do don't feel comfortable talking about it, do they?
No.
What we've seen tonight is how Bill and Melinda Gates are just beginning to share the wealth. It's good they're young. They have extensive resources and are taking a long view because the problems are many and complex. But the unexpected consequences of their shining a light is that others too may be persuaded to help. In Africa, for King 5 News, I'm Jean Enersen.